We're here on this cold January day to learn a little bit about blueberry pruning. The fields that we got here, they're 6-year-old plants. I've got some mixture of Duke and some Elliots. Today we'll start off with a little bit of a discussion about why to prune, when to prune, and how to prune. Blueberries we prune for a number of different reasons. One primary reason is we want a vigorous plant. We want the vigor. Why? Younger canes, generally 3 to 5-year-old canes or 3 to 6-year-old canes, they produce a nicer bud set. They're able to move nutrients and water through their tissue easier and better from the roots up. And older canes, generally, especially once you get over 10-year-old canes, they're much less efficient in nutrient movement, water movement, and fruit production. We also prune to minimize disease of the plants. There's a couple of big diseases, botrytis twig blight, and also bacterial twig blight, a fungal and bacterial disease. That's easy to see during this time of the year, during dormant period, and it's easy to prune out. We also prune because we want to maintain the shape of the plant. Whether you're mechanically harvesting or hand harvesting, you still want a plant that can be harvested. You want an upright plant, a narrow base plant, especially if it's mechanically harvested, very narrow base. So we want to prune to maintain certain shape and size of the plant. Pruning and when, I mean, there's sort of the annual when, but also in the plant stages when. In terms of plant stages, the first 2 years, 1 or 2-year-old plants, I do very little pruning. What I do is remove the flowers from the plant, so give the plants a chance to really vigorously grow. And in terms of pruning, it's more of just sort of a cleanup, any sort of dry, dead vines we take out. The second stage of the plants is sort of what I call young plants, 3 to 7 years or 3 to 8 years. Those that generally do a light prune with small hand loppers, take out about 10 to 15, even 20%. And then the third stage is the larger plants, or fully mature plants, 10-year-old plus, especially if they're 20-year-old plus. We do a heavy prune. In terms of timing, we generally prune this time of year, January, February, March, during dormant period. The leaves have dropped, it's easy to see the diseased wood or any winter damaged wood. Anything earlier than that, it's generally not recommended if the tissue is still green. You want to give that plant a chance to take those nutrients in. And you also don't want to go too far into spring, because once a plant starts growing and the bud bursts happen, they're in a sense wasting some of their nutrients and energy to go to canes that you're going to eventually take out. So ideally you want it sort of this early winter stage before the plant really starts vigorously growing. Third part is how to prune. It is individual for farmers and individual for the fields, and even individual for the varieties. There's certain varieties such as Duke, which is not an aggressively growing plant, so you're going to prune that a little bit different than other varieties such as Elliott or Blue Crop that are very aggressive growing. So you have to assess your field and also assess an individual plant. One of the first things you should do is just take a look at the plant and based on its growth, and sort of the stage of the plant, sort of judge your pruning on it. Once I do start pruning, I usually start pruning right on the base of the plant, clean up the base, any canes or shoots that have just gone very lateral or falling to the ground, take them out. Any small twiggy dead stuff, take those out. So start from the base, and I usually work my way up. Second thing, then sort of the center of the plant, clean that out in terms of any dry twiggy stuff. Last thing is sort of the outside overall shape in terms of a narrow base and top canopy. You want a sort of an umbrella-like canopy, which is easier to obviously mechanically harvest, but even hand harvest, it's important to have that open top canopy. So 3 steps, the base, the center, up through the top of the plant, and then the outside. Before I get into the prune, I make sure you have your proper tools, my small hand loppers, your goggles, but I think most important this time of year are probably your long johns and good insulated boots, try to keep warm. This is about a 6-year-old roughly Elliott field. It's a plant that hasn't been pruned here. A lot of the new growth, I mean, they're always the sort of the lighter, brighter color canes, and those are generally going to be 1 or 2-year-old shoots, and then you can see some of the older growth wood here. You want a nice healthy cane. You can see the bud set, these little swelled tips. These are buds. Not all of them will become fruit. Some of them can just be leaf buds, but generally this is what we really want. And the more bud set, obviously the better it's going to be. You can see an older cane here that doesn't have bud set. This is one that's probably produced fruit last year, and so it's something that we will be thinning out. Another key thing to point out is disease. We can see sort of a dark black cane. I mean, this is like bacterial twig blight. This is more a botrytis type fungus. So whether it's bacteria or botrytis, and this type of stuff we do want to take out. This in hindsight, we should probably get out. Because it just doesn't have too much new growth, not that much of a bud set. Probably just better just get rid of it. The last thing I usually do is just sort of step back, take a look at the plant, see there's something that you might have missed. You know, I generally like to thin it out a bit. Something you can just do by, actually this one probably just get rid of. And so the end, this is a plant that's close to what I would like, a little bit more upright. So this is about a 6-year-old roughly Duke plant. It's already been pruned. I can show a plant that hasn't been pruned. Generally my Dukes I prune a little bit lighter because they aren't as aggressive growers. You'll notice that there is quite a bit of older stuff, not as many new canes. That's one of the reasons I don't prune it too heavy the first 6-7 years. In year 7, year 8, which will be next year, the year after, I'll probably take out at least 1 or 2 more of these older, larger canes and try to stimulate growth. But yeah, you hope to see some new big shoots, laterals right from the bottom. Now we're in a blue crop field. This is a mature blue crop field. We're looking at probably about 25 years old, maybe even a little bit more. Blue crop, variety-wise, is a little bit more of an aggressive grower, so it grows pretty rapidly. So even with that, you can prune it a little bit heavier. You can see a lot of twig growth. The bottom, some big, new laterals, or new shoots, sorry, that are good aggressive growers. A lot of old stuff. So some of that, like I said, don't try to take out too much, but I'll take out 1 or 2 big old canes, and the rest, then work my way up and clean out the center. And then again, just the top in terms of shaping and disease. When I prune, our main guys will keep both of our loppers together. With my crew, I generally put maybe 3 or 4 guys with the big loppers, and they just go through, and have the remaining guys go through in the back. Handheld power pruners, those can be really good, really efficient if you got a well-trained person and they can clean up a plant pretty good. Somebody not trained too well or a newer person, they can really chop off a lot of the plant pretty quickly. So I stick to my hand loppers and the handheld pruners, or the big loppers handheld pruners. You can see right from the onset, I mean, one thing that stands out to me is this particular old cane here. It's quite old, but you can see a lot of different branching in different directions. So it's something that right away to me is to take out. It doesn't even really matter what's on the end of it, even if it's healthy stuff. There's enough growth here that I want to get that. I'll take that out with my big lopper. But again, right through the center, I mean, it's such a heavy canopy that it's not gonna, be able to be picked even if it does ripen up. So you just really thin out some of the central type stuff. To me, the analogy or the wording I usually describe to my workers is sort of the umbrella type stuff. You want the plant up and sort of branched over stuff to the outside. It is a little bit high, but generally what will happen once it gets loaded with fruit, a lot of these stems will drop down. You will be able to get picked as long as they fall out rather than fall towards the center.